Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce did everything they could to keep their wedding private. It didn't work. New footage from after the ceremony has suddenly gone viral, and what fans spotted in the clips is already fueling a wave of controversy. Here's what everyone is talking about. The wedding itself was built to be unbreakable. Guests were required to sign non-disclosure agreements before they even got near Madison Square Garden. And the security around the event matched what you'd expect at a state visit, not a private party. That footage turned out to be the most detailed glimpse yet into how the couple pulled off one of the most secretive celebrity weddings in memory. Just 32 seconds long. That's all it took to break the internet again. The clip showed something nobody expected an arena to look like. Madison Square Garden, home to Knicks games and Rangers games and 1,000 concerts, had been reworked into an enchanted garden with towering trees, emerald green drapery hanging from the ceiling and a soaring chapel-like structure, with gray archways standing in for the altar. The seats, usually blue, were gone, covered in nude-colored fabric, so completely you'd never guess there was an arena underneath. The video didn't stop at the altar. It captured the transition from ceremony to reception, with guests in formal wear filing through hidden magic doors behind the altar. As Candy Statton's disco staple, Young Hearts Run Free played, a hallway lit in pink and peach, photos of the couple lining the walls, and in the middle of it all, a giant monogram, a TNT logo, marking the exact spot where two of the most photographed people on the planet just got married. In front of a room they'd handpicked themselves. But here's what made the clip land so hard. Nobody was supposed to see any of it. Not the archways, not the roses, not the hallway. This was footage that shouldn't have existed in public at all. And yet there it was, spreading across TikTok and X within hours, dissected frame by millions of people who'd been shut out of the biggest wedding of the year. So how does a wedding with this much security spring a leak? And more importantly, who was actually inside that room when Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce said "I do"? Let's start with the lockdown itself, because understanding just how tight it was makes the leak even more remarkable. New York City had been bracing for this for weeks. Reporters had staked out the block for days, watching a parade of 18-wheelers deliver and unload supplies, mostly under wraps, as crews quietly transformed the arena from the inside out. Nobody outside the production crew knew exactly what was being built. Estimates from celebrity event planners compared the whole operation to producing a blockbuster movie set. Except this movie had a hard deadline, a wedding permit that listed a 5 p.m. start time, and a shutdown window stretching to 4 in the morning. On the ground, the security wasn't subtle. There were 135 officers assigned around the venue on the day, according to law enforcement sources, with private security layered on top of that. Streets around Madison Square Garden were closed. Barricades kept pedestrians off the sidewalks entirely, which in a city that doesn't usually bend for anybody, tells you something about the scale of what was happening inside. And then there were the NDAs. Every guest, all reportedly close to 1,000 of them, signed away their right to post, describe, or even hint at what they saw. That's not a small ask for a guest list, stacked with some of the most online people on the planet. Comedians, pop stars, NFL executives, actors who post their entire lives. And yet, for the better part of 2 days, the wall held. No official wedding photos or video were released by Swift or Kelce, and guests mostly played by the rules, sharing only vague, glowing descriptions instead of specifics. That's what made the black cars pulling away from Madison Square Garden so fascinating to watch, even without a single detail confirmed. Crowds gathered outside for hours, waiting behind barricades, just to catch a blur of a famous face through tinted glass. People cheered every time a car left the venue, snapping photos of vehicles they couldn't even see into. It was a strange kind of spectator sport, watching secrecy in motion. The wedding took place amid a brutal New York heat wave, with temperatures reaching triple digits, a tough scene for those standing outside without an invite. Fans stood in that heat for hours anyway, just to be near it. And when the ceremony finally wrapped, the reveal came in a form built for maximum spectacle. Billboards outside Madison Square Garden lit up in purple with the message, "Justin T. married," announcing the news to the streets of Midtown Manhattan and the entire globe. A few blocks away, the Empire State Building switched its lights to blue, a nod to the old wedding rhyme about something borrowed, something blue. Then, almost as if it had been scripted, a rainstorm rolled in over the city. For a moment, it looked like the couple had actually pulled it off. A wedding this massive, this star-studded, kept completely under wraps. And then Saturday happened. That's when the first video surfaced, not from a guest breaking an NDA outright, but through the Daily Mail. whose report didn't specify exactly how the clip made its way to them, only that it was obtained, the kind of vague sourcing that fuels endless speculation about hidden phones, a rogue vendor, or someone on the production side who wasn't bound the same way guests were. What we do know is that once it was out, more kept coming. Page 6 obtained a separate video showing a burgundy 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS convertible, the same model tied to the early days of the couple's relationship, being driven out of the venue with a custom plate reading JST and TMRD before it was loaded onto a truck. Someone, somewhere, was recording things the couple never intended the world to see. And then came the photos. Not just video, actual still images allegedly snuck out on someone's phone, showing the pink wall covered in relationship photos, including a shot of Kelce down on one knee during the proposal, plus vacation photos of the couple that fans had never seen before, feeding each other, playing with a puppy, caught mid-laugh in moments that were clearly never meant for public consumption. That combination, video and photos, both allegedly smuggled out from inside one of the tightest lockdowns in celebrity wedding history, is what turned this from a wedding story into something bigger. It wasn't just that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got married, it's that the world got to see inside, a room that was never supposed to be seen. To understand why that footage hit so hard, you have to understand who was actually inside Madison Square Garden that night, because the guest list itself was its own kind of event. The 1,000-person guest list was impressive, expansive, and occasionally befuddling. This wasn't a wedding with 50 relatives and a handful of close friends. This was a genuine cross-section of Hollywood, the music industry, and the NFL, all crammed into one arena at the same time. Start with the Hollywood contingent: Steven Spielberg, Gigi Hadid and Bradley Cooper, Dakota Johnson, Eric Stonestreet and Hugh Grant were all spotted arriving. So were Jennifer Lopez, Graham Norton, Jimmy Fallon, and Zoe Kravitz. Add in Tom Hanks and Paul McCartney, and you start to get a sense of just how absurd the density of fame in that room actually was. This wasn't a wedding with a celebrity guest or two. This was a wedding where you'd struggle to find a table without one. Then there was the sports side, which made sense given who the groom is. New England Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel and sportscaster Aaron Andrews attended, alongside 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and Andy Reid, Kelce's own head coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell showed up too, along with a wave of current Chiefs players, who were photographed loading into blacked-out vans from a hotel that media had already staked out days earlier. The music world showed up in force as well. Ed Sheeran was there, and so was Stevie Nicks, who reportedly performed during the evening. Add Ellie Goulding to the mix, and you had a room where the entertainment and the guest list were nearly indistinguishable from each other. But 3 names in particular tell you the most about how personal this wedding actually was, underneath all the star power. The first is Adam Sandler. He wasn't just a guest, he officiated the entire ceremony. Sandler, who gave Kelce a cameo in Happy Gilmore 2, served as the couple's officiant. Afterward, he didn't hold back on how it went. Speaking to ABC News, Sandler was described as funny and touching, and when asked about the vows, the description that came back was that they were everything you would hope for: real, vulnerable, serious, and silly, deeply loving, according to Good Morning America anchor George Stephanopoulos, who was there himself. Stephanopoulos wasn't alone in that assessment either. His co-anchors Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan were seated in that room too, close enough to see the couple write their own vows into what witnesses described as small personal books. The second name is Austin Swift. Instead of a traditional bridal party, the couple skipped bridesmaids and groomsmen entirely. Swift's brother Austin served as her man of honor, while Jason Kelce stood up as Travis's best man. That detail alone reframed the whole event. This wasn't a celebrity spectacle dressed up as a wedding. Underneath the Dior gown and the transformed arena, it was 2 families standing up for each other in the most literal sense. Jason Kelce, for what it's worth, had already had his own turn in that role. Travis had been the best man at Jason's wedding years before any of this. The third is harder to pin down to one person, because it's really about the texture of the room itself. Robin Roberts described the atmosphere as a garden inside the garden, and Stephanopoulos went further, saying it was hard to imagine that a venue that massive, filled with that many famous faces, could still feel intimate, because the couple had folded in their neighbors and high school friends alongside the A-listers, making it feel, in his words, like any wedding you'd attend yourself. That tension, Global spectacle on one hand, deeply personal ceremony on the other, is what made the leaked footage so jarring when it surfaced. It wasn't just celebrities caught on camera. It was Austin Swift standing at the altar as his sister's man of honor. It was Jason Kelce, a man who spent his post-football career being brutally, publicly honest on a podcast, standing next to his brother in a moment neither of them could fully control once the video got out. And then there's the detail that got fans buzzing the moment the story broke. Karlie Kloss. Her attendance alone was treated as news because it seemed to put to rest any lingering rumors of a rift between her and Swift, years of speculation resolved by a single RSVP. Selena Gomez was there too, close enough to Swift that she wore a fitted, beaded golden gown, the exact color Swift had worn as a bridesmaid at Gomez's own wedding the previous September. It's the kind of detail that only means something if you've been following the friendship for years, and Swifties noticed it instantly. Writer and director Lena Dunham was spotted arriving too, and that one had history behind it. Swift had stood as a bridesmaid at Dunham's own wedding back in 2021. These weren't just famous names filling seats. Every person walking into that arena carried some thread of history with the couple, which is exactly why the leaked footage felt less like paparazzi photos and more like someone handing the internet a family album they were never supposed to open. That's the room the footage came out of. Once you know who was standing in it, the next question becomes obvious. What was everyone reacting to once the video actually started circulating? The moment that footage hit TikTok and X, the reaction wasn't measured. It was immediate, and it split almost instantly into two very different crowds. People who were emotional and people who were furious that the emotional people didn't get to see it live. Start with the fans, because their reaction tells you exactly how much emotional investment had built up around this wedding over the better part of a year. One fan wrote that the thought of Taylor Swift putting on a wedding dress that day to get married was actually making her emotional. Another posted hoping her close personal friend, a running joke among Swifties who've never met her, but talk about her like family, was having the best possible day. That phrase, close personal friend, showed up over and over, a kind of shorthand for a fandom that's spent nearly 2 decades, treating Swift's life like a shared story they're all living through together. Some of the reactions went further than just excitement. They got reflective. One fan wrote that watching Swift get married made her realize that everyone's path to finding the one is different, pointing out that Swift's dating history had been picked apart publicly for over a decade, and that this ending felt earned rather than lucky. Another fan admitted she'd hidden being a Swiftie as a kid because it wasn't cool, and said seeing Swift end up with someone who truly understands her and celebrates her made years of quiet fandom feel worth it. Then there was the humor, because no Swift moment goes by without fans finding the joke. Buried inside the emotion, several posts poked fun at just how enormous the guest list had gotten, joking that Swift had apparently invited everyone she's ever spoken to, with one fan specifically calling out the sheer randomness of seeing Ellie Goulding and Graham Norton at the same event. It's a joke that only works because it's mostly true. Remember, Swift herself had all but confirmed months earlier that she planned on inviting essentially everyone she'd ever hung out with. Not every reaction was pure celebration, though. A chunk of the online conversation was aimed squarely at the scale of the disruption the wedding caused in New York itself. Following the ceremony, Con Edison had to publicly clarify that Swift's wedding did not contribute to citywide power outages, after some New Yorkers who'd lost power near the venue took to social media to blame the production. That's the kind of reaction that only happens when an event gets big enough to actually disrupt a city's infrastructure. Real or not, people were angry enough about losing power that a utility company felt compelled to respond. Beyond the emotional posts and the memes, there was a third strand of reaction, pure obsession with the logistics of how the secrecy held up as long as it did. One post that circulated widely put it bluntly, essentially crediting Swift and Kelce for outsmarting the entire internet by locking down an event of this size for as long as they did, calling it a smart, deliberate move to book the date and venue the way they did. That admiration, grudging or not, became its own subplot to the story, because the harder people tried to find cracks in the wall beforehand, the more satisfying it was when the wall actually held for most of the weekend before the footage broke through. That's also where the AMC connection comes in, because one of the most detailed eyewitness accounts didn't come from a tabloid at all. It came from AMC Theaters CEO Adam Aron, who was one of the 1,000 guests inside. Aaron posted a detailed account of what he saw, later deleting it, describing how immediately upon entry, everything, floors, walls, ceilings, was draped in peach and white, and how the arena featured blown-up photos of Taylor and Travis at every age, from 1-year-old through their late teens, lining the walls. He went further, describing how a section of Madison Square Garden had been so thoroughly transformed that there was no trace it had ever hosted a basketball game or a hockey match, adding that somehow someone had managed to build what felt like an outdoor garden from a countryside retreat inside an arena in the middle of Manhattan. That post, even deleted, became a huge part of the story once the leaked video corroborated almost everything he described: the trees, the drapery, the photos on the wall. Suddenly, a corporate executive since deleted social media post and a 32-second leaked clip were confirming each other, piece by piece, giving fans outside the NDA wall a complete picture assembled entirely from cracks in the secrecy. By the time the weekend was over, the reaction had built into something bigger than typical celebrity gossip. It wasn't just Taylor Swift got married, it became a shared real-time event that fans across the world had participated in, some by staking out sidewalks in the heat, some by piecing together leaked clips frame by frame, and some by throwing their own watch parties thousands of miles away, in cities the couple has never even visited. Once that first video was out, the dam didn't just crack. It kept leaking for days with new details trickling out from wildly different sources, almost none of them official. Start with the dress, because that's the detail fans wanted most and got the least of. The couple's representative confirmed that the bride and groom's wedding ceremony looks were created by Christian Dior Haute Couture, designed by Jonathan Anderson, the label's creative director, in close collaboration with the couple themselves. The statement specifically noted that this marked the designer's first couture wedding dress made for a world-renowned celebrity, with shoes custom-made by Christian Louboutin and jewelry by Cartier finishing the look. And yet, despite all of that being confirmed on paper, no actual photo of the gown had surfaced through any credible outlet, prompting warnings from entertainment reporters not to trust the fake images already circulating online, since none of them lined up with the details journalists had actually verified about Kelce wearing a white tuxedo for the ceremony. Then there was the aisle walk itself. According to details obtained by the Daily Mail, Swift walked down a raised aisle in her custom Dior gown to a string arrangement of one of her own songs, a touch that turned her own catalog into the soundtrack of her wedding without a single lyric being sung. It's the kind of detail that, once it leaked, immediately sent fans combing through her discography trying to guess which song it might have been, since no outlet ever specified the title. The venue's layout kept expanding too, the deeper the leaks went. Beyond the garden altar and the pink hallway, reports described the venue's lower level carrying a separate fairground theme, complete with mechanical games, alongside thousands of pink and peach roses scattered throughout the space. That detail mattered because it echoed something personal. The garden corner built inside the arena was reportedly designed to be reminiscent of the location where Kelce popped the question to Swift the previous August. The whole venue, in other words, wasn't just decorated for scale. It was quietly built around the couple's own private landmarks, recreated in front of 1,000 people, who mostly had no idea what they were looking at. The vows were the part that seemed to hit hardest for anyone actually in the room. Beyond Sandler's officiating and the description of the ceremony as vulnerable and deeply loving, one guest account revealed that a surprising detail within Swift's vows reportedly left Kelce in tears during the ceremony. The specifics of what was said were never confirmed publicly, kept as one of the few details the NDAs actually managed to hold on to. Another attendee, describing the vows in broader terms, said the couple appeared to share what he called a profound love, based purely on watching them read from those personal books in front of the room. Even after the ceremony wrapped, the leaks kept finding new angles. Page 6's footage of the vintage Chevelle being loaded onto a truck wasn't just a random detail, it tied directly back to the early days of the relationship, giving fans a full circle moment between how the story started and how the night ended. And the photos that leaked separately, allegedly snuck out on someone's phone, added an entirely different layer. Not the wedding day itself, but years of relationship history the public had simply never seen before, including vacation shots and playful private moments that had nothing to do with the ceremony at all. Then there's the mystery that still hasn't resolved, where the couple actually went afterward. Reports on their honeymoon plans have been contradictory from the start. The couple appear not to be taking a major honeymoon immediately, largely because they're due to attend another wedding just over a week later. Chiefs teammate Juju Smith-Schuster's wedding in California. TMZ specifically reported that the couple has no plans for a mini honeymoon before heading out west, tight timing that left very little room for an international trip in between. Other outlets floated different destinations entirely, with some claiming the couple would spend time in Lake Como, Italy, and later in the Bahamas, though none of that has been confirmed by the couple or by any outlet with direct access to their plans. It's entirely possible those reports are decoys, meant to throw off exactly the kind of intense paparazzi attention that surrounded the wedding itself. Either way, it's one of the only parts of this story that hasn't leaked yet. Every one of these details pieced together built something bigger than any single leak could on its own. The dress nobody's seen, the song nobody's named, the vow that made a grown man cry in front of 1,000 people, and nobody outside that room knows what it said. Piece by piece, the wedding that was supposed to stay locked behind NDAs turned into one of the most publicly dissected private events in recent memory, without the couple ever releasing a single official photo themselves. So where does all of this leave Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? Now that the footage is out there and isn't going away, for one thing, this almost certainly isn't the last the public sees of that night. Industry sources have suggested there's more material sitting somewhere waiting for the right moment. Entertainment journalist Mike Gunn said he'd been told by people close to the production that the wedding was being professionally filmed by Swift's own team, with the possibility that a full special could be released later this year on a streaming platform, or timed around the release of her next album. If that's true, then everything that's leaked so far, the 32-second clip, the photos on someone's phone, the Chevelle being driven away, might just be the appetizer for something the couple actually intends to control and release themselves on their own terms whenever they're ready. That would track with how Swift has handled almost everything else in her career. She spent 2 decades turning her own life into content on her own timeline. Songs, documentaries, surprise drops, and a wedding. This massive, this photogenic, fits naturally into that pattern. A leaked 32-second clip is one thing. A polished, narrated special with full access, dropped exactly when it benefits an album cycle, is another thing entirely. If Gunn's sourcing holds up, the leaks the internet has spent days piecing together might end up being nothing compared to what eventually gets released voluntarily. In the meantime, the couple has very little downtime to process any of it. Just over a week separates their own wedding from Smith-Schuster's ceremony in California, meaning Kelce goes almost directly from being a groom to being a guest at a teammate's wedding, with Swift right beside him. There's something almost funny about that timeline. The biggest celebrity wedding of the year, followed immediately by a much smaller, much more normal one, with barely a week to catch a breath in between. And then there's the football season looming behind all of this. Kelce is already signed on for another year with Kansas City, meaning training camp, preseason obligations, and an entire NFL schedule are waiting for him almost immediately after the wedding circuit wraps up. Whatever honeymoon does or doesn't happen, it's working around a calendar that doesn't bend for anyone, not even for the league's most famous tight end. For Swift, the timing lines up with her own pattern too. She's coming off releasing her 15th studio album the previous October, a record that moved 4 million equivalent units in its first week alone. New York University professor Brittany Spanos, who teaches a course on Swift's career, said she suspects there's probably new music on the way, a theory that only gains weight if you consider how often her personal milestones end up folded into her next creative chapter. As for the footage that started all of this, the 32 seconds that leaked, the photos snuck out on somebody's phone, the Chevelle rolling out with its custom plate, none of it has been formally addressed by the couple or their teams. No statement confirming who leaked it. No legal action reported. No follow-up denying its authenticity. It's simply out there now, folded into the permanent record of one of the most watched weddings in recent memory, sitting alongside the official statement about Sandler officiating and Austin Swift standing as man of honor. What's left really is a strange kind of standoff. The couple built a wedding designed to stay locked behind NDAs and stadium-level security, and for the most part they succeeded. The vows nobody heard, the dress nobody's photographed, the honeymoon nobody can confirm. But the parts that did get out, the garden inside the garden, the pink hallway, the vintage car driving off into the night, are now permanently part of how the public remembers the day, whether the couple ever intended to share them or not. And that tension is probably exactly where this story stays for a while, somewhere between what leaked and what didn't. Between the version fans pieced together frame by frame over a single weekend, and whatever fuller picture Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce eventually decide to give the world, if Guns' sourcing turns out to be right. Either way, the footage is already out there, already viral, and it isn't going back behind